What is up, and welcome into the Monday Night Football FTN Bets Show with yours truly, Jeff Ratcliffe. I will be here with you, that is, on Mondays during the course of the NFL season to set up Monday Night Football. The fantasy's out of the way. We've made most of our decisions. DFS, of course, we got a little bit of that going on over at FTNDaily.com, but let's face it, we still want to get some action in here on week one. So you can get in on the action over at FTNBets.com. We have my player prop tool over there. For example, we're going to go through 5 prop bets that I like in this evening's contest, but you can get all the prop bets that I like and all of the bets just in general in our bet tracker that our entire team likes over at FTNBets.com. Promo code RATPACK will get you a discount, and I am cheap because I want to save that money for bets that I can make. So get that discount with promo code RATPACK at FTNBets.com. And like I said, every Monday during the NFL season, for as long as we have Monday Night Football, we will have this show breaking down all of the thoughts that I have for every Monday night. 5 bets, like I said. Also want to give you a couple thoughts just in general about the week that we've already saw. It's easy to overreact to NFL. We're starved for football. And in week one, it is very easy to overreact to the NFL. But I don't think we should do so. You know, a lot of people are looking at, for example, the Green Bay Packers and their lackluster performance against the New Orleans Saints and panicking perhaps a little bit about what they saw. But I believe in what Aaron Rodgers once said. He did say, relax. And I think we should take those words to heart here. It was not a good performance. It was the worst performance from Aaron Rodgers that we've seen in some time. But 1 week can be a fluke, 2 weeks more of a trend, 3 weeks definitely a trend. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one, and I'm not worried. If I have Aaron Rodgers in fantasy football, for example, which I don't because I don't draft quarterbacks that early, but if I did, I'm not that worried about Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones for that matter. Not worried about those guys. It's just 1 week of football. Calvin Ridley, kind of the same thing. In fact, it looked like Calvin Ridley was gonna have like 15 catches in that game. And then Atlanta just went south very quickly there. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Not worried about that. Again, it's week one. Now, some players, of course, did get hurt here in week one. Ryan Fitzpatrick will be on injured reserve. As of right now, it doesn't look like Washington is going to sign another quarterback. I've been already asked a whole bunch of questions about Cam Newton because of the Ron Rivera connection there. I don't think it happens, but we shall see. However, if Ryan Fitzpatrick misses extended time, because remember, injured reserve today in the NFL is a mandatory 3-game, not 3-week, 3-game absence at a minimum. After that point, you can come back. But if he misses extended time, that is not good for this team if they do not bring in anybody else. And it's going to be tough for them to bring somebody else in unless it's via trade or something to that effect, which still could be pretty tricky. You don't just plug and play in the NFL. You got to learn a playbook, which as Sony Michel, anybody who has Sony Michel in fantasy football knows that quite well from last night. But it will hurt McScore and Terry McLaurin. It will hurt Logan Thomas from a production standpoint if Taylor Heineke is under center for that team. So we'll stay tuned there. The other big injury that we have seen in the last 24 hours is Raheem Mostert. And I will say this to the ding-dongs out there who threatened Raheem Mostert's wife or sent hate tweets, whatever, social media messages, you're an a-hole. You are a flat-out a-hole, and I would say more if I could, but I can't, so you're an a-hole. Otherwise, I mean, hey, players get hurt in the NFL. They're human beings. Let them, wish them well in their recovery because it ain't about you. Stupid. Just so stupid. Anyway, I digress. A lot of people were very upset when Trey Sermon was a healthy scratch yesterday. And believe it or not, he very likely won't be a healthy scratch going forward here for as long as Mostert is sidelined. I don't have a current timetable on that, but it looks like it could be an extended absence for Raheem Mostert in this one. So Sermon could very well be on the active roster. Of course, we saw Elijah Mitchell break out, as running backs tend to do in that offense. But for right now, our eyes are on that. So, I'll address the fantasy crowd with all that. But we do have to dive into tonight's action. And, of course, a lot of eyes on the running back position. Speaking of injuries, Baltimore absolutely devastated by injuries, decimated, and It really stinks. Gus Edwards was right there, right on the precipice of potentially a breakout season, and if not, an opportunity that doesn't come around very often in the NFL. That injury just plain sucks, and hopefully he recovers quickly, along with Justice Hill and J.K. Dobbins. Those injuries suck. Injuries are the worst part of football. There is no doubt about it. But now there is opportunity for another player. Tyson Williams looks like he is going to handle a bulk of the workload tonight. This according to Jeff Zerbiak over at The Athletic, and he's really plugged in with that team. I buy this. Largely not only because he's played well enough in the preseason to garner praise from the coaching staff, but also because there is nobody else on this roster who is up to speed. Latavius Murray looks like he will be active in this one. Could see some touches here, according to The Athletic, but that's about it. Le'Veon Bell, as of right now, I've been looking around. He looks like he's still on the practice squad. Now, they still, I think, in theory, have some time to call him up, but I don't know if he's going to be on the active roster. So is there any opportunity here for betting? Well, not with Williams. Williams' current line at FanDuel, 60.5 rushing yards. It's a pretty well-set line. I might be just slightly under that line with my projection, but I am just slightly under that line with my projection, which is not enough room to take the bet. If you're new to player prop bets, I often say this. I used to say this last year on our Thursday night show here. If the bet isn't there, you don't make the bet. You don't have to force bets. A bet saved is a bet earned for the future. We only want to take action when we have an edge, and we don't have an edge with this line. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what, in general, the Ravens do with the usage in the backfield. Do they lean even more or a little bit more on Lamar's arm? I mean, a lot of questions. We don't have answers right now, but it is going to be very fascinating to see. Passing on Tyson Williams' lines, though, for right now. So what am I in on? Well, let's start on the Vegas side of this matchup. You have Derek Carr, obviously under center, has done a reasonably good job. Unheralded, but a reasonably good job as the quarterback here for the Raiders. The passing yardage line, though, you're going to see a variety of numbers out there. The lowest I have seen is 258.5. The highest 263.5. Of course, you can use the prop shop over at ftnbets.com to search out any of these lines. Search it, put Derek Carr's name in there. You can find all the lines that exist for Derek Carr right now. It's the Google of sports betting, and it makes very easy comparison for these guys. So I don't like the 258. I probably would still take an under on it, but I actually really do like the 263. Give me the 5 extra yards. 263.5. It's at -115 at William Hill. I am in on the under on that one. The Ravens didn't only experience a loss on the offensive side of the ball. They experienced a loss in their secondary, losing Marcus Peters to a torn ACL as well. Another brutal injury. It does put a slight damper on the defense, but the defense is still pretty darn good. So I'm not necessarily going to completely upgrade the matchup for Derek Carr. I don't expect this to be a pass-happy environment for him, and I do like that under at -115 on 263.5 passing yards at William Hill. That being said, even if he is under that number, I still think there's going to be more than enough meat on the bone for the passing game. Like, I wouldn't worry if I have Darren Waller, by the way. And I'm really going to be keyed in on Henry Ruggs in this contest. I want to see how they use this second-year wide receiver. Last year, let's take it as a redshirt year for a lot of these rookies. They were coming into a season without a normal offseason program because of COVID-19. They didn't, it's hard enough for a rookie in the NFL as it is. They didn't get the full experience, though. And for a lot of those guys, for all of them, week 1 was their first experience, unless they were injured, first experience on an NFL field. They didn't get the preseason. So it was a really tough one. And Ruggs, I don't know if he was utilized the right way. So I think that's the biggest question for me. How will they utilize Henry Ruggs in this contest? Are they going to get the ball into his hands in the short and intermediate area of the field where he can leverage what he is especially good at, which is that superior athleticism and speed in particular, making people miss, get the ball in space? Ruggs isn't really a downfield threat. Not that Derek Carr is going to be chucking the ball heavily downfield anyway, but Ruggs is the type of guy, again, get the ball into his hands in space, and let the kid make things happen. So do they do that this evening? Now, I don't even think that's necessary for him to hit this line. Right now, I'm showing the best line at 35.5 receiving yards. That is over at BetMGM, minus 130. So certainly juiced to the over, but that's not enough juice to cause me to shy away from that thing. I really like the over here. In fact, I like the betting markets really across the board for Henry Ruggs. You're going to see some higher lines. That's fine. You'll get slightly better odds as well. And remember, the odds are just as much of a factor as the lines are when it comes to player props. If you're brand new to player props, look at the odds as well. You know, if you have something that, let's say it's plus 120, or I'm going to have one that is, I have one that's plus 120 coming up in just a bit. Plus 120 means you don't have to hit that bet anywhere near as much as you would have to hit a minus 115 in order to be profitable in the long haul. And that's what it's all about. It's not about winning every bet. Sure, everybody, I'd love to say, oh, I win every bet. I don't. No, nobody does. If they tell you they win every bet, they're lying, right? They're a tout who's lying. Nobody hits every bet. We want to hit more bets than we miss, of course. And we really want to use these odds to our advantage when it comes to these bets. So minus 130, sure, it's not the best, best odds that we're going to find on this, but the line is slightly better. So I'm going to play that to our advantage there with Henry Ruggs. Elias saying, got to take the home dog. I'm not talking about, for me, I don't typically talk about the sides and the totals for the games themselves, because I like to play where I have an advantage. And I think that's probably the most important thing for anybody when it comes to sports betting. Stick within your comfort zone and play where you think you have an advantage. If you think you have an advantage taking sides and totals for the games, go after it. If that's your comfort zone, go after it. For me, my comfort zone as somebody who has covered fantasy football in the industry for the last 11 years is players, for sure. And somebody who has played player props for a better part of the last 4 or 5 years, that's where the edge is for me. And I like to go after that market as well. So Elias has got the hands raised emoji. Appreciate that. And appreciate everybody who's watching along with us here. I guess he is on Periscope. You can also watch along on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, I think the kids like to say, smash the like button. Feels weird saying it, but do it. All right, just do it. Anyway, back to the player props for this contest. So we got Henry Ruggs on the over, Derek Carr on the under, Josh Jacobs. Now we got to talk about Josh Jacobs in general, because there is a lot of mystery surrounding his status. He is listed as questionable. It is with an illness. He was limited in practice on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And his status, obviously questionable, is very much up in the air. When you are questionable, sometimes, you can be on the wrong side of questionable. Sometimes you can be a true game time decision. This one is shaping up to be more along those lines. Will he play? Won't he play? Well, hey, if I'm playing in fantasy football right now and I have Josh Jacobs going, I got to have a backup plan in place. That really is going to limit you, because very likely Kenyon Drake is not out there. He is probably drafted. It's very likely that Tyson Williams is not out there, or Latavius Murray for that matter. So you have a bit of a predicament there. And if Jacobs doesn't go, then I do expect a ton of Kenyon Drake in any week, especially this week here. So there are some questions, but I'm going to get this wager in. If he doesn't go, the wager voids out anyway. But one thing that we do know about Jacobs, the Raiders historically have not trusted him in the passing game. He's been in the league for 2 years. They've made it abundantly clear they like him in the run game, and they don't like him in the passing game. Now, they haven't vocally said that, at least to my knowledge. I haven't heard, we hate him in the passing game. I don't think that would be something John Gruden would say. John Gruden would say something like, I love this Josh Jacobs guy. I love this guy in the run game. But he probably wouldn't say the other thing. How do we know? Usage. It just comes down to usage. Josh Jacobs is a 2-catch per game type of guy. We look down at the stat sheet at the end of the year. If he played 17 games, he has 34 catches, right? 2 catches a game. Well, his line is 2.5 catches right now. Minus 169 juice to the under. The best line, or best odds, the line is standard across the board at 2.5. Best odds that I found, minus 169 at William Hill. Everything is relatively close there. I'm going to take the under on that. Sometimes you just take the gimme putt, even though the payout you're not winning the same as what you would win if it was plus 100 or even minus 120. I'll still take the gimme putt on this one. I don't expect him to be involved in the passing game. It's a big reason why the team went out and got Kenyon Drake to get in there in that offense. So Kenyon Drake gives you the passing game presence. They've said that as well. They said they want to get the ball into his hands in space. More of an explosive player in that realm, whereas Jacobs is the guy who's going to grind on the ground. Could he be a 20 carry a game guy? That wouldn't shock me. Now, that's a lot of carries over the course of a season, well up over 300, but it wouldn't shock me at all. If he's a 3 catch a game guy, I would actually be pretty darn surprised. So 2 catch a game, 15 to 20 carries. He's still going to get his. He's still going to be heavily involved in the offense, but they just don't seem to trust him there. So I'm going to take that under at 2.5 receptions. Next on my list, Sammy Watkins. The ultimate fantasy tease occasionally will show up, but usually he's hiding somewhere in the background, right? Sammy Watkins, we kind of know this at this point. But when you look at the wide receiver group, this was supposed to be Rashad Bateman early, Rashad Bateman often, but Rashad Bateman, of course, on injured reserve. And hopefully we'll see him after the 3 games are done. We'll hopefully see him in week 4, and then this will all be a distant memory. But for now, he's not out there. Marquise Brown, we know what he is, kind of hit or miss as well. High ADOT guy, really heavily targeted downfield. But there's really got to be somebody other than Mark Andrews to catch the football. And I do think in this contest, that somebody is going to be Sammy Watkins on the Baltimore side. And the line is just playing too low. It's 38.5. Now, we know Baltimore is not a prolific passing offense, especially with Lamar Jackson under center, because, hey, Lamar is going to do Lamar. Lamar is a freak of nature. I don't think we're getting ahead of ourselves to call him the best running quarterback in NFL history, and he's barely into his career. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He's going to do what he does. But Lamar isn't a complete slouch in the passing game. It's not like he's going to throw for 100 yards and call it a day. He can still spin the ball a little bit. I do think he's going to be looking to that stability of Sammy Watkins in this one. And the line is just so darn low. I mean, heck, Sammy Watkins has 39 receiving yards. He's over this line. So it's not like we're looking for a 100-yard day out of him. That's the other beauty to player props. If you're from a fantasy background, heck, you might need a big game from Sammy Watkins. We don't need a big game to win this bet. We just need a few catches, honestly. If he hits 4 catches in this one, it's very likely we're over. He could even be over with 3 catches. 3 catches, 13 yards a catch, boom, that's an over. And it's minus 115. So the odds are favorable. That's over at DraftKings, but I think that's fairly standard across the industry right now. That's what I'm going after. That's the exact type of play that I want to see here for Monday Night Football. Final wager on the docket. Well, I already talked about Lamar Jackson, and no, I am not touching his rushing yards props. If there's one thing that I've learned, I don't want to trust a Lamar or touch a Lamar rushing yard prop, because even at over 70 rushing yards, I think I currently saw it 71.5, I think was the last I saw it. I don't want that. I mean, because my model is going to be conservative. My model is going to say, yeah, the under is in play. And every time I played an under in the past with Lamar's rushing yards, he smashed the over. So I don't even want to mess with it. We know how good he is. But I think the passing element is where we need to look in this one. So you have Tyson Williams as the running back, as I mentioned. The backfield is decimated. It's an inexperienced backfield with not much meat on the bone beyond Tyson Williams. I mean, you'll have Latavius Murray and Trenton Cannon very likely dressed in this one. Do you really want to have to use those guys? So one way that we can negate that a little bit is lean a little bit more into the passing game. And I'm not talking about passing yards with Lamar. There's still going to be a run-heavy offense. But I do think we have an interesting opportunity with Lamar's passing touchdown line. Right now, 1.5. That's a standard quarterback line. It's very rare to see a 2.5. It's very rare to see a half touchdown line. So you're almost always going to see 1.5. So the line isn't our edge. It's the odds that are going to be our edge when it comes to the passing touchdown lines in most instances. So right now, best odds that I'm seeing plus 120 over at William Hill. Bet $1, get $1.20 back in profit. I don't mind that one at all right there. So plus 120, and he is plus odds across the board, across the industry. Those are the best, but plus odds across the industry here on the over on that one. And that is really important. I do think that if you're brand new to prop betting, if you're brand new to betting in general, shop around. If you're in a state where you have multiple sports books at your disposal, I'm in Pennsylvania, so I have multiple sports books at my disposal. They're not all going to give you the same odds. They're not all going to give you the same lines. Now, the lines may be similar. In this case, they're the same across all books, but the odds are different. So really, to maximize your return on investment, shop around and play those odds. And the best way, of course, to do so over at ftnbets.com with the prop shop. You put Lamar Jackson in there, you'll get all of the prop lines, including the touchdown lines, and then you can see where you can find your best odds, find your best line. It's the way to do it, man. It's the way to do it. If you really want to be in this to win it, you want to be in this to make as much money as possible, pad those bankrolls. You have to be, really investing in the best odds and best lines for these guys. So right now, here it is. Derek Carr under on 263.5 passing yards at minus 115 on William Hill. Henry Ruggs over 35.5 receiving yards, minus 130 on MGM. Josh Jacobs under 2.5 receptions, minus 169 on William Hill. Sammy Watkins over 38.5 receiving yards, minus 115 on DraftKings. And Lamar Jackson over 1.5 passing touchdowns. That is plus 120 at William Hill. Like those, and if you can't find exactly those lines or odds, play them close to it, and you should be good to go. Remember, you can head on over to ftnbets.com to get everything in our bet tracker, everything in my player props tool. We have all kinds of different models there for you, too, in terms of projections. If you're a DIY type of person, maybe you want to do your own bet picking, well, it helps to have projections in your corner. Don't just bet based on what you think, feel, or believe. You're going to get crushed every time, so it helps. We have my projections. We have Kyle Murray's projections as well over at ftnbets.com, plus other sports too. It's not just about football, although for me, 24/7, 365, 366 in a leap year about football. We have everything. We're hitting left and right on PGA bets, baseball still going on, special events like, we just had the major tennis tournament, all of that stuff at ftnbets.com. Make sure you use the promo code RATPACK. And just for your insight here, so every Friday, I'm going to be at 2 o'clock. I'm going to be doing this live stream here called JR Weekly, where I run through every single game. I gave a player prop bet out for every single game, plus some thoughts for fantasy as well. If you're a fantasy player and you want to dabble in betting, it's the best of both worlds right there. On Mondays, 2 o'clock, we'll do a quick rundown of the player props for Monday Night Football here on the Monday Night Football betting show here for FTN Bets. So that'll be straight on through the season. We're going to make money. We're going to win in fantasy. We're going to win in bets. We're going to win in DFS. It's all across the board at the FTN Network. By the way, if you still want to get in on fantasy football, we just had a price drop. Now the fantasy draft season is over, but you still want rankings, projections, all of that over at ftnfantasy.com. All you have to do is use that promo code RATPACK. Again, save some money there. Bet that money tonight. Let that money make money for you. It's that easy. It's that easy. All right, at Jeff Ratcliffe on Twitter, that is me. At Jeff Ratcliffe on Instagram, that is also me. And, of course, you can follow along with us at FTN Network, along with the other Twitter handles at FTN Fantasy, at FTN Bets, at FTN Daily. All of it, follow along with us, and I will be back next week at 2 o'clock Eastern on Monday afternoon for some more Monday Night Football action. Enjoy the game tonight, and I will catch you on the flip side. I'm Jeff Ratcliffe, and I'm out.